Hello, everyone, and welcome to the core game. Finally, I am so excited about this. The core game of High Frontier for All. This is the first time we're going to play with the entire core game rules. So we're going to do it solo, and we're playing with Clout, the Clout A card here on the crew. You can see here that it's an A, so we're starting with the A clout, and it's on Leo as normal. And we have new things. So we have basically three new things that we're going to introduce that we've never done before. And some of the rules have changed slightly from the Race for Glory. It has gotten a little bit more complex. So one of the things that changed is something that you'll see here right away. And that is over here, we have the thruster, which we've seen before, but these are actually the core game cards. These are not the Race for Glory cards. So I don't know exactly what's different about them, but these are the core game cards. We have the thruster, the Robonaut, and the refinery. Now, if you recall, the thruster is what makes your ship go. And the Robonaut and the refinery is what you use to build factories and also to prospect with the Robonaut. We have three new cards, though. The generator, the reactor, and the radiator. So we have three new types of cards, and they are support cards. So one thing that I'll show you right away is on this Robonaut up here, we have this little icon here, which means that this card needs a generator. Okay? It needs a generator, and it needs this type of generator. It's orange. And that is its support. It needs a support. In order for this Robonaut to be useful, it needs to have a generator running it. So that's what this generator card is for. You'll notice here on this generator that it has this icon here at the top. That's what cards it supports. This is a support, so it shows that it supports cards with this little E there. And this one, though, is not an E. It's a different type of generator. So I could not use this generator to support this Robonaut. Here's a radiator. The radiator it provides support with this icon here, up here at the top. So when the card needs that, then we can do that. In addition, there's a radiator. So this was a reactor. This is a radiator. So the radiator provides cooling therms. You'll see this one provides 3 cooling therms up here. So if a card needs cooling, then we can use this radiator in order to cool it. So that's one thing that's brand new are these support cards. The other thing that's brand new are radiation. Remember before we just go through radiation like they're nothing? Well, now when you go on to a radiation space, you have to roll a radiation roll. And that radiation roll makes a difference because each of these cards have a radiation hardness. You'll see right there at the top, this one has a radiation hardness of 5. So if I rolled, for example, a 5, I'd be safe. But if I rolled a 6, then that would be too much for this thing to handle. And this card would basically be decommissioned back into my hand if it's out there. Now, there's a third thing that we're also going to introduce, and that is events. So before we had a slightly different sunspot cycle card, and I'll show you what this one looks like. So this one has events here, 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 and here. So when we pass through into the next year and go through an event, we got to roll the die. And in each of these different seasons, blue season, yellow season, and red season, there are different events that occur depending on what I roll. So those events are range from bad to worse. Although there is one event which is common among all the seasons, which is called inspiration, which means that if I roll a 1 or a 2, then all the top cards go to the bottom, and I basically get to choose the second card the next turn if I want, which is basically the top card at that point. So if I don't like what I see, I'm hoping for inspiration to get something different. So, and as I roll, I'll tell you about the other events, and we'll go from there. But those are the main things. One other thing to note too is that in the red season, if I roll I believe it's a 5 or a 6, then it is a solar flare. And yes, and what I have to do is I have to I have to roll the die and apply the result to every card in every non-Leo and unshielded stacks. So I adjust, and you have to adjust the modifier listed in the heliocentric zone that the stack is in. So let's just say I'm in Mercury. The heliocentric zone there is a +2, and I roll a 6. That would be an 8. That is really bad. So if rad hardness is less than the modified result, decommission the card. There's also one other thing too, which is these radiation belts. During the red season, I have to add 2, because that means that the radiation is higher in that season. So traveling during that season is bad. It says right there, add 2 to belt rolls. You'll notice that these belts, there are belts here, radiation belts, also around Jupiter, little one around Saturn, little one here. So those belts have radiation spots. So you, like I said before, you got to roll and see. There's also this thing called a glitch. So if you don't have a human along with a rocket, then or an outpost or something else that goes through a glitch, then if you roll a 3, then it's a glitch, and you got to put a glitch somewhere. And then if you do certain actions, it's a glitch trigger, and so you have to roll the die, and anything that matches exactly in that stack with the rad hardness, that thing gets decommissioned. So basically, it just makes the game harder. Let's be honest. Everything has gotten a little bit harder and a little bit more complicated. We also have all the glory chits out there now, all the way out to Neptune. So all the glory chits are there. Probably not going to go out past Jupiter because, let's be honest, in the core game, things aren't super powerful. So you got to wait until the next modules and so forth in order to get really powerful rockets so that I can go all the way out to here. But for right now, I think we're just about ready to get started. So we're going to play the solitaire game called Altruism. It was created by the creator of this game, Phil Eklund. So here are the rules. The setup is the same, except for the following changes is we've got 4 seniority discs. In other words, 48 turns for this game. That's called the short game. The medium game is 60 turns, so it'd be 5 discs. And if there's if you use a different module, then it can go up to 7. So 84 turns. So right now we're at 48. One thing it said to do was to shuffle the decks and then remove the bottom half of each deck. But I'm not going to do that because I want to see all the cards if possible. It says that you should only have 6 thrusters, 6 robonauts, and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, I'm fine with using the entire deck. The faction privilege. If your chosen faction has the taxes, secretary general, or felonious faction privilege, additionally start with additional 6 aquas. So I do have the secretary general, and it says it gives you 2, but that's in a multiplayer game. But in solo, it gives you 6 more. So in the core game, you start with 6, and because I'm the secretary general, I get 6 more. So that's going to really start me off nicely with 12 aqua in my bank. And I think that's really good. So I have a feeling that I'm going to need it because this is my first go around. I have read the entire rule book and the glossary and the appendix all the way up to the where I got to this scenario for the solo play. So I should know what I'm doing. I'm probably going to have to refer back to the rules. I do have the core book here. I also have a player aid here, which may or may not help me, but I do understand what I'm doing, and I think that this game I'm going to be able to get everything right. We'll see, but I have a feeling that it's going to be pretty good. I think we're going to do just fine. All right, so we start off with 12. Keep continuing on. That is, there's a special rule. Okay, so for the research auction operation, obviously I don't have any other players. I'm not going to be bidding against anybody else. Here, I'm going to turn off this scrolling text. All right. Obviously, I don't have anybody that I'm bidding against. So in the solo mode, you take the top card of the patent deck for your operation, including its bonus supports. So for example, if I were to take this Robonaut, this thing requires a generator. And even if it's not the right exact type of generator, I would still take this card. And it costs the number of aquas equal to the number of cards taken. So for example, if I just took this thruster, it needs no supports, so I would just pay 1. If I took the Robonaut, I'd be able to take the Robonaut and the generator, and I'd pay 2. So that's how that works. The game ends when the last seniority disc over there on that sunspot cycle is removed. So basically at the end of the 48th turn. And then the scoring is as per the core rule book, which means that basically any piece that's out there that's not cardboard is counted as a point. There's also bonus points for colonies on submarine sites, and I forget what those sites are called. Let's see. Those are called, let's see, scoring. Astrobiology. So these ones with green on there are astrobiology sites. The ones with blue are submarine. So a colony with on a astrobiology gets +1, and a colony on a submarine gets +2. Of course, each of the factories, we have our factory track way over there in the corner, kind of hidden by the StreamYard icon. But if you recall, it's 8 points for one factory of its type, 5 points for 2, and 4 points for 3 factories of the same type. And we have 6 different types out there. We have C, D, M, S, V, and H. So those are the 6 different spectral types of 6 different spectral types of sites that we have out there. So yes, so we have that scoring as well for factories. Glory chits. If we go out with a crew and land on a site, we get to pick up a glory chit. If we bring the crew back home to Leo, we get to turn it over. and we get to put it right here on our glories. And so that will give us more points at the end of the game as well. If we, let's see, yeah. So anything that's a rocket, claim disk, factory cube, colony dome, then we get a point for each of those. And yeah, that will do it. And so our goal for this game, it gives you even a goal. So victory conditions, if the score is 40 plus points in the short game, then that is a victory. Anything less than 40 points is not a victory. So we are shooting for 40 points. And obviously, the way to get a lot of points is by getting those factories. If you get all 6 factories, then one of each type, that's 48 points right there. So 5 of them would be 40, and probably 4 of them with a bunch of claimed discs and some factories and maybe some colonies, that would probably get us to 40, 32 plus 8. So, and plus glory chits as well. So I'm thinking 4 factories would probably do it. And certainly it's really easy to get a factory on a C site, an S site. If we go to the moon, ultimately, maybe we can get the H site. I think we did that on one of the other games. And a D site is pretty easy to get to as well. The V, as we saw over in Vesta, was kind of rough, but we did get it. And the M site, we had a real problem getting. We just could not get the M site. That proved to be just too difficult for us. So, yeah. And so I am thinking that we are ready to start. So I am super excited about this. I hope you are too. So I'm going to end it here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to end it here. That would be terrible. Yeah, just the setup. That's it. But no, we're going to start. So I've got 12 aqua, and I need to build, as you know, I need to take these cards into my hand, which basically represents patents. So I have knowledge on how to build these things. Now I haven't built them yet, but when I boost them up into Leo in an action, Leo meaning low Earth orbit, when I boost them up into Leo, that means that the parts are up there in order to assemble into a rocket. And then I can take those parts and I can put them into a rocket stack. So these cards represent patents, and then they'll also represent the components. They are the components of a rocket, so the actual material component itself. Right now, though, they're just ideas, and they're sitting out here, and the question is, what do I want my team to focus on and build in a patent? And right off the bat, I like the idea of getting 2 cards for 2 aqua, mainly because if I don't like one of them, I can sell it for 3. So I can start making money, and money is aqua, and aqua is also propellant and or fuel. So you can call it fuel or propellant in this game, but it's also the currency of the game as well. So you pay everything in aqua, and you fuel your rocket with aqua as well. And I'll show you some more of that if you're new to this. You don't have to go back and watch the other ones. If you want to start here with the core game, that is absolutely fine. So this is where we're at. Okay, so I'm thinking that the best move is to take these things, and actually this Robonaut is not bad. I mean, it is a 2 ISRU, and I will show you the ISRU little tag I've got here. So this is an in situ research unit, which means that you basically extract the resources from the site that you're on. You basically live off the land with this thing. So this thing will prospect. This thing can prospect. It can also contribute to building a factory, which is great because that will give you on-site refueling, which is extremely important. It also provides for factory-assisted liftoff and landings. So factories are very valuable. You can only build a colony on a factory as well. So this Robonaut actually has a 2 ray gun ISRU. And what that means is if I'm, say, for example, we'll just say right here because it's really close. Anything that doesn't have anything in its way with a ray gun, you can prospect adjacent sites. So, for example, with this one, I cannot prospect over here because there's this burn right here. So I can't do that. But I can prospect this one. I can prospect this one. I can't prospect this one because there's a burn. I can't prospect these because there's a burn. But I can prospect this one and this one because there's nothing in those, there's no burns in the way. So this thing can actually prospect 4 sites from either this location or this location. So ray guns are really good in terms of prospecting multiple sites. And this one is an S type. So if I get a factory on an S type site, I can ET produce it. In other words, extraterrestrial produce it, and then I can turn it over to its backside. And since I'm going to take this card, I'm allowed to look at what the backside is. And the backside basically changes this to a 1 missile. And 1 and 2 are important for a few different reasons. And I'll tell you why. You'll notice on these sites, there are these little droplets of water. This one has 3, this one has 3, this one has 2. So if your ISRU value is less than or equal to the hydration number on it, you can prospect there. So this 2 ISRU card can prospect on this 2 and this 2 hydration site. Here's a 1. I cannot prospect there. But with a 1 ISRU, I can prospect there. So that's important for that. In addition to that, you have to, you can also only prospect on those hydration sites that, like I said, lower than or equal to your hydration. There are some cards that will modify that, but that's very important to know. So with a 2, you can do a lot of exploring because there's a lot of places with 2 or greater. And so you can do a lot of exploring with this. So I'm going to go ahead, and it's also got a 5 rad hard, which is pretty good. So yeah, I'm thinking that's pretty good. There was also one thing that I mentioned in regards to the radiation roll, radiation spaces. When you have to do a radiation belt roll, you roll the die, and then you subtract your net thrust. So I'm going to give you an example of why rad hard 5 is really good. So for example, if I have a rocket with a net thrust of 5, and I rolled a 6, 6 minus 5 is 1, and 1 is lower than 5. So there's nothing that I could roll that would make this be decommissioned, not even in the red zone. So it'd be 6 minus 5 plus 2, that'd be 3. That's still lower. So that's why a rad hard of 5, let's just say the rocket had a net thrust of 3. So 6 minus 3 is 3. Plus 2 is in the red zone would be 5. So if I rolled a 6 with a 3 net thrust rocket, this still couldn't be decommissioned because it has to actually be greater than. So it's not greater than or equal. It's basically if you have a lower rad hardness from that final number, it gets decommissioned. So that's why having a rad hard of 5 is really good. Yeah, so because you can use a lower thrust rocket and still get through the belts, no problem. So I'm going to go ahead and take this Robonaut and the generator Unfortunately, this one doesn't support it, but this generator is a 3-mass with a 1 rad hard. So it's not very hard in terms of radiation security. It also has this little wrench icon. So if that's part of the thruster, you see it's on a triangle. If it's part of the thruster support system, so let's say a thruster needed a generator, this type of generator, this would be able to provide solar power as well to the rocket. So if you were, say, in the Mercury zone, it would give it +2 net thrust. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take these 2 cards. This one is a Cascade photovoltaic generator, and this one is a neutral beam Robonaut. I like this Robonaut a lot. It still needs this type of generator, and this generator I'm really not thrilled with. So even the black side isn't great. I mean, it provides +1 net thrust with no fuel consumption modifier. It's a 1/1, so that's just the same. 2-mass, 3 rad hard. It's okay, but it's not the greatest. It's probably going to get sold for cash. So this is going to be my hand right over here. Excuse me. So yeah, that is the first turn. I'm going to pay my 2 aqua and not steal those patents. So I pay the 2 aqua, 1 for each of the cards, and that is the end of the first year. I know that took a while to go through just 1 turn, where it's going to go much faster in the future. But I wanted to do this to explain why I'm doing these things and what they all mean, since we're just first starting this thing out on this game. All right, so we're about halfway done with this video, and we're 1 turn in. All right, so we're in year 2 now, and we have an event. So the events in blue season are inspiration. So if I roll a 1 or a 2, it's an inspiration. If I roll a 3, then it's a glitch, but we would not be glitching anything right now because we have a human crew in Leo, and Leo can't be glitched anyway. So we're fine there. I think that's true. I think that you cannot glitch in Leo, but let me just make sure. Let's look at the glitch. Let's see here. Events, it's probably under events, I would think. I think that's the K, if I recall. Yeah, sunspot glitch. Event roll glitch. Each player places a glitch red disc on their stack with the most cards that have neither a glitch nor co-located humans. Choose if stacks are tied. All right. So I guess you can put a glitch on something in Leo if there's no human there. But right now, there's a human. So 3 is the glitch. 4 is a pad explosion or space debris, which means that the heaviest card, the one with the most mass in Leo, I'm going to go ahead and turn this thing off here. There we go. The card with the most mass in Leo, you have to decommission. So basically, if you boosted something up really heavy, it got blown up by space debris, or a pad explosion. It just never basically made it there. And so you have to take that card out back to your hand, and you got to pay for it again to go up there. Crew, they are immune to it, which is great. In addition to that, black side cards are also immune. So after I ET produce a card, those are immune to pad explosions as well. A 5 or a 6 in the blue zone, which is where we are right now, will basically be an anarchy. And in anarchy, all faction privileges are lost, and all players acquire the felonious for the rest of the blue season. in a solo game, felonious doesn't really mean much because I'm not going to be absconding and using other people's factories without their permission and so forth. So that really doesn't mean anything. In addition to that, I've already done my faction privilege. My faction privilege is a one-time thing, getting 6 aqua, and that's it. So anarchy is pretty meaningless to me in this game. So I don't mind rolling a 5 or a 6. And I'm looking at this generator right here, which has this icon, which my Robonaut needs. So I'm hoping that it's not a 1 or a 2 because I really kind of want to take that generator. Although, looking at it, it does require a reactor and 2 cooling therms. So that's a lot of support. One little thing about this card as well is got a little Pac-Man icon over here. I don't know if you can see that, but right over here is a little Pac-Man. And that Pac-Man icon means that if I'm in an arrow braking situation, like where all these parachutes are, and I'm going down in an arrow braking, I can actually scoop up atmosphere if it's an atmospheric site, and I can create fuel out of that. And I can stay there as long as I want. I just have to make a hazard roll every single time. So a Pac-Man can give you more fuel as well. It's going to require, though, this reactor, for example, and 2 cooling therms, which is this one's 3. Actually, the radiators have two different sides. They have a hard side, which is the 4 mass with 3 cooling therms, and this one's a 3 mass with 2 cooling therms. So you can flip it over to whatever side that you want. If a radiator on the hard side though gets decommissioned, you can just flip it over to the light side instead of bringing it back into your hand. So that's kind of the advantage of taking the harder side, just in case something bad happens. Like you don't have very much thrust on your say you have a 1 thrust rocket and you roll a 6. 6 minus 1 is equal to 5. This one's a rad hard of 4. This thing would be gone. But if I had on the other side, I would be able to turn it to this side, and I'd be able to keep it out in space. All right, so anyway, 1 through 6, I'm going to roll. We'll see which one it is. I really don't want to roll a 1 or a 2, to be honest with you. And of course, I roll a 1. So, but 1 is really bad in this game. That's where you blow up on hazard rolls and stuff like that. So if I'm going to get rid of the 1s, I might as well get rid of the 1s while I'm not blowing up my rocket. So I'm going to go ahead and do the inspiration, which is taking all these cards and putting them to the bottom. And maybe we'll find something here that's really good. I don't know. We'll see. But unfortunately, that generator did go away. And that reactor that I really kind of liked as well went away. So that's kind of unfortunate. All right, so here's the next radiator. It's 2 mass with a 1 rad hard, or a 1 mass with a 2 rad hard with 2 cooling therms. Those really are my choices. Inspiration, I didn't like it. I did not like it. Yeah, I didn't like it. So let's see here. What's interesting is this solar sail. If I can use this solar sail and go to a place that's fairly close and set up a factory there, then I would be able to get this. I would be able to get the push sat ability, which in a thruster that has a little arrow here, you get a +1 thrust. So getting a factory on one of those sites early might be really good. In addition to that, this one says this card is immune to CME and belt rolls. So if there's a solar flare or radiation belt, even though it has a rad hard of 0, it's immune. So it cannot be affected by it. It's also a C card. This one's a C card. If I go to a C site and create a factory there. I can ET produce it, and it would probably be a good card. This Robonaut here needs a bomb reactor, which we actually have one. So that's interesting. So I could get this Robonaut plus this bomb reactor for 2, and I would be able to have a Robonaut and a reactor with 0 mass, 2 mass. That's not a bad idea, actually, because with that, all I need is a refinery, and this refinery here needs a generator, and I have that type of generator. It gets pretty heavy though at a certain point, but I like that Robonaut mainly due to that. Now, if I take this generator, I can also take this reactor, and I can also take a radiator as well, because it needs a cooling therm and a reactor. So the question is, do I want 3 cards, or do I want 2 cards with that Robonaut? It's got a 3 ISRU, which is okay, but the rad hard is 6, so that's really good. This Robonaut though is a 5, so that's pretty good too. But I could take both Robonauts out there, prospect with this one, and then decommission that one to use in a factory, and then I can still have my rocket go out there, unless I take a thruster and go to a site, for example, on Mars or something like that, which has an atmosphere. I can go ahead and aero brake, and then when I go through the aero brake, this thing automatically gets decommissioned, but I don't have to adhere to the weight or to the thrust on the site. Normally, if you're going to a 9 site, you have to have a 10 thrust landing on it. But if you go through an aero brake process, you can ignore the thrust. You just basically decommission your thruster. Think of it like just sending down a probe. So you basically just send down a probe onto the site, and it just sits there. So and then you can prospect. So think of it like the Mars Surveyor or Pathfinder or Sojourner or Viking, any of those guys. That's basically what that is. So the question is do I take the solar sail right now so I can have 3 cards in my hand, and then I can take either the generator and get 3 more cards in my hand, so I'll have 6. Or I take the Robonaut plus the reactor and then have 5 cards. But I do think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this thruster. I'm going to go ahead and take that thruster right there. So I'm going to pay 1. There's no support for it. So I'm going to pay 1 aqua. And we're going to go into year number 3, which is in the yellow zone. And now we're out of anarchy. And if it made any difference, I would get my faction privilege back. But as I said, I've already used it, so it's meaningless. There's no event right there, so I can just go ahead and do this again. I still am limited by the 4-card auction limit. Now, I can have as many cards as I want in my hand, but what I can't do is I can't take any more cards if I have 4 or more. Right now, I only have 3. So this might be a really good time to take something. To take, for example, well, let's just say this. If I took the refinery right now, I'd be able to take my thruster, my Robonaut, and my refinery, and I'd be able to go. I'd be able to go to some site to build a factory. And maybe that's the best way to go instead of taking all those cards right now, because then I wouldn't be able to take that refinery for a while. And I definitely want a refinery in order to be able to go out and explore. So I have the refinery, I'd have the generator, I'd have the Robonaut, which doesn't, but I wouldn't have the support for that Robonaut. See, that's the issue with supports, is that you really need to have all those things together in a support chain in order to be able to function properly. So this refinery is kind of worthless to me unless I get this Robonaut with this reactor. And I do like this Robonaut quite a bit, although this Robonaut actually has the ability to do a thruster and a burn, even after burns, on a D site. But this one's a C, and this one's a C, and I really kind of want to get to a C site if I could, so that I could build a factory there. And maybe that C site, maybe the best site to go there is to Venus, because this is an 11C right here, and you can aero brake onto it. There are some hazards, but you can aero brake onto it, and I would just decommission my solar sail, and I would have I could do that, and I could build my factory there. Although that is a tough place to go back to. So yeah, there is that. I don't know. I don't know if that's the best move. So as you can see, this is my first playthrough with supports and everything like that. And I've watched other people play, and they go through the same process, which is what do I do here? Do I take this? Do I take the refinery that I do have a support for that, but I don't have a Robonaut that has a support yet for that generator? Do I take this Robonaut, which is a really good Robonaut, except for the ISRU value, but with the bomb reactor, it's a 2-mass with a 3 rad hard, which is not too bad. A 2-mass reactor is not bad. This combo is not bad. They are kind of tougher sites to ET produce, D and H. But the V site is also difficult as well. I could take this generator, which would give me this bomb reactor and this radiator. And this generator is a C, which is actually a better generator than this one, except that it needs both the reactor and the radiator. And this radiator is a 1-mass, and this one's a 2-mass, so that would be a 3-mass. That's 4-mass, and this generator is a 3-mass, so it'd be 1 extra mass, but rad hard 532 instead of rad hard 1. So there's the trade-off. And also, there's also one other thing to mention too. If I do an afterburn, it works as a 1-therm cooling. So the afterburn actually cools the engine. Now, that's good if it's in the support chain. But since it's a solar sail, it's not. And so that really doesn't make sense. I just want to get there as light as possible at this point. So I think I'm going to go ahead and take this Robonaut along with this reactor. So I'm going to take these 2 cards here. That'll bring me to 5. And I'm going to pay 2 aqua for that. All right, that's the end of the 3rd year. Go to the 4th year, and we have an event. Now we're in the yellow cycle. Rolls 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the same: inspiration, glitch, or pet explosion. And in the yellow, in budget cuts, each player discards a card from their hand. So if I roll a 5 or 6, I've got to discard one of these cards. So we'll see what happens. Of course, I'm getting the worst rolls. That is a 6. So I need to discard something. And the question is what do I want to discard? This Robonaut is a really good Robonaut, but it requires that crazy generator. And also right now, this refinery requires that type of generator. This Robonaut's really nice, but I think I'm going to go ahead and discard this Robonaut, unfortunately. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to discard this guy. Okay, I'll put that at the bottom. That was too bad. Now I cannot take any cards. I can boost something up to Leo though, in order to free up my hand, and then hope for no pad explosion, which is really kind of the case. I can actually boost this Robonaut up for free because it's a 0 mass. So I'm going to go ahead and boost that up. That is my heaviest card though that's eligible. Well, I can boost this thruster up as well because this is free. That's a 0 mass. So this is a cool solar sail here. So I'm going to go ahead and boost that up for free. That didn't cost me anything. Boosting is an operation. The question is now, do I want to boost up, say, this bomb reactor support for this Robonaut? And that's going to cost me 2 aqua. So yeah, I think I do. I might as well. So I'm going to boost that up for 2 aqua. Do I want to boost the generator up for 3? I'm thinking about next. Right now, I don't have anything that needs any cooling therms, which is cool. Which is cool. My Robonaut is supported by my reactor, and I need a refinery for the factory, and this refinery requires a generator, which is sitting right here, which this requires a bomb reactor and a cooling. So if I took this refinery, I'd be able to take the generator, and then I could there's no afterburn on this thruster, so I could not cool it unless I got a reactor, which I actually would take that card as well. So actually, you can't do that. That's incorrect. If I took this card, I would only get this support. You don't get supports of supports. So I would get this card and this card. If I took this card, I would get this card and this card, which still would leave me without a refinery and kind of a useless generator that's sitting over here doing absolutely nothing. And I already have solar power. I don't really need this solar power. Yeah, that generator card is not long for this hand. So that'll be it. I'm not gonna use this. I'm gonna keep that boosted up there. I paid my 2 aqua. Those guys are boosted. We're gonna go into the next year. So year 5. Now I only have 1 card in my hand. I could sell it, but I don't think I'm gonna sell it right now, because if I did take this refinery, I would take this generator, and I have a bomb reactor, but I don't have cooling, so I wouldn't be able to use this generator, but I could use that generator. So I really want to get going, but this is an X-type reactor, and there I have an X-type reactor, 1 cooling therm. I think I did say that I was able to take all the supports. Let's see. So take the top card of the pattern, including bonus supports, the number of card taken. Yeah, so if I took this Robonaut, for example, I could take, well, I'd take a reactor and I would take a radiator. That's not a bad idea. These are low mass cards too. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to take this Robonaut, which means I got to take the reactor. It's not the, this is not the right type for this, but I have it over here in my hand on Leo. And I'm going to take the radiator. And yeah, that's going to cost me 3 aqua. So as you can see, I started with 12 and now I'm down to 2. So I've spent a lot of money on patents. I've got a lot of patents here. I've got about 7 patents so far. That's quite a bit. And I boosted. So that was 7 plus what? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus 2 is 9. And 9 plus 2 is 11. Where'd my other aqua go? Did I already mess up? 1 aqua somewhere? I mean, it's what, 4 cards, and I already had the crew, so that cost me 7. I boosted for 2. That's 9. Where's the other aqua? I don't know. I must have done something wrong there. So I'll just put 1 back. So I've got 3 because I started with 12. Maybe I only had 11 out there to start with. I don't know. But 12 minus 7 minus 2 is 9. Or it is 3. So 12 minus 9 is 3. So I should have 3 out there, and I have 3. All right. That'll do it for that year. And we're going to go into an event. And this is the yellow season again. So really don't want a 4, 5, or 6, to be honest with you. 4 would blow up this reactor and send it back into my hand. 5 or 6 would have me discard one of these. So let's try not to get a 4, 5, or 6. How about a 4? How about we blow up something on the pad? A pad explosion decommissions the heaviest card in Leo. That would be this, the one that cost me 2. So that goes back to my hand, unfortunately. And so now we've got Thruster, Robonaut, Crew. I'm going to start selling. Some of these cards, I think. I've got 2 reactors right now, which I really don't need 2 reactors. None of my cards need this reactor here. Although this reactor is kind of cool because if it's in the support chain for the thruster, it gives a 1/2 modifier for the fuel consumption, which is kind of nice. It's also got only a 1 mass and a 5 rad hard, which is not bad. The problem is that nothing needs this card right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and sell it. So I'll sell it for 3 aqua. There we go. All right, and that's the end of that turn. Now we're in the red season, no event yet. I can go ahead and boost something up. Let's see here. I could have created a rocket stack. Instead of just having it sit up there in Leo last time and not have my reactor blow up. So why don't we just walk that back for a sec, and we'll put this guy on Leo, and we'll put all 3 of these cards right here in the rocket stack. That way it doesn't get blown up. Because it specifically says each player decommissions heaviest card in Leo. And this rocket stack is on Leo, but I don't think that it's not in the Leo stack. It's in the rocket stack. So it is in low Earth orbit. Heaviest card in Leo. I mean, since the rocket's on Leo, does that mean that it's on Leo as well? Probably. Otherwise, that'd be kind of weird, right? All right. So it really didn't matter. Let's put it back down here. All right. So the question is, do I go ahead and boost now, or do I sell that generator? This Robonaut is a buggy. A 2 buggy, so that will actually prospect multiple sites. So, for example, if I go to the moon, I won't be able to actually prospect because it's a 2 and there's only 1 hydration. But if I go to Mars, I'll be able to prospect all those sites over there. And they're all C sites. And that's really what I wanted. So I think I'm going to go ahead and boost this Robonaut. I already have a Robonaut here sitting in Leo, which is a 3 as well. That is a 3, but it's not a buggy. So I could take this thing along with me, though, and then use it for the factory. It would get rid of the reactor, which is not bad. Okay, let's do that. So we're going to go ahead and boost this Robonaut up to Leo for 0 mass, so 0 cost. It needs a radiator, so I'm going to go ahead and boost the radiator up for 1. And this Robonaut also needs this kind of reactor as well. So I'm going to go ahead and boost that up for 2. So that's going to be 3 total. So 3 aqua has all been boosted up. And all I need is a refinery, and I'm good to go. The problem is that this refinery requires a generator, which is this. And I really don't want to take that along if I don't have to. All right. Well, we're in the red season, and we have an event. It's the next year. So let's roll. I'm actually hoping for a 1 or a 2 so I can see what the next refinery card is. A 1 or a 2 would be nice. How about a 3, which is a glitch? Right now, there's nothing that can be glitched because all this stuff is sitting. I forgot to take it back to the hand or to the Leo. These are all on Leo with the crew, so there's no glitch that occurs. So that's good. If I would have had a rocket stack here without my crew, I would have gotten a glitch on it. So that's one reason why you don't have that there, and I don't think that protects you from the pad explosion space debris, because I'm still in Leo, on Leo right there. So I think that makes sense. But unfortunately, I also didn't get my inspiration that I was hoping for. So now I really don't want to go yet until I get a refinery so that I can land and build a factory. So right now I'm really not feeling like I want to build a rocket and go. The thing I could do, though, is I could take the thruster along with the buggy Robonaut and this reactor in order to support it. It's got the X type here. And so this thruster, this reactor, that Robonaut, and the cooling therm, the cooling that I need, and actually take this would be This would all work in order to be able to go and prospect every site on Mars. The problem is that I guess maybe that's the best way to go at this time. I may as well bring this Robonaut as well. It's not going to matter either way, but this Robonaut is ultimately going to provide me the ability to build the factory. But I still have to go out there with a refinery anyway. However, it's not necessarily bad to go in two different times because of the weight, right? So if you take a look down here, the probe, if you have a dry mass up to 4, and of course this thruster doesn't use any fuel, any wet mass fuel, so it would be at a 4. So the thrust would actually be at well, for Earth, it's what? It's a neutral. It's 0. So this probe would put me at a +1 net thrust. So I'd actually be at a 1 thrust with this, which means I'm going to have to go through the radiation belt with a minus, with subtracting 1 from the roll. And so let's say I roll a 6. This card, and this card's done. If I roll a 5, same thing. If I roll a 4, these 2 cards are gone. And if I roll a 3 or lower, I'm fine. So 4, 5, or 6. 4, 2 cards, 5 or 6, 3 cards. So that would be pretty bad. Because as soon as that happened, I'd just be going off to them with a Robonaut that can't be supported, and I wouldn't be able to prospect anything. Oh boy, this is rough. This is rough. Unless I took my crew and then used their thrust in order to go past the radiation site, which I could do. I could just go up to the cycler, and then the next turn go to the radiation site, and then I'm safe because it's going to be the thrust is going to be a whole bunch. It is going to increase my mass by 1, but that would only bring it to a 4. So yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, here's my thruster. It's a solar sail. Here's my crew. It's a 1 mass, and it's got this 12 thruster with a 9 fuel step, which I'm not going to be using. So 1 mass. Here's a Robonaut. It's a buggy. It requires a reactor, an X reactor, which is this one right here. So I have my X reactor. And that's 2 mass. The buggy is 0 mass. This Robonaut requires a bomb reactor, which this reactor is cool because it gives you both bomb and the X reactor, so that's cool. And that Robonaut's a 0 mass as well. And this Robonaut, this buggy, ultimately when it prospects, it's going to need a cooling. And here's the cooler, which is the radiator, and that's a 1 mass. So in total, I've got 1 mass, 2 mass, which is 3, 0, 0, and 1. That is a 4 mass rocket. Going from Leo up to the cycler does cost 1 burn. So I definitely am going to be activating. I'm going to be activating my solar sail for sure. I'm going to put my rocket out there. It's on Leo right now, which is great. Sorry, that's the that's not Leo. That's Leo over there on Earth. There we go. All right, so there's Leo, and I can go over to the cycler. But first I need to do is put my wet mass and my dry masses out there. So dry mass is all of the masses added up. So that would be 4. And wet mass is the amount of fuel that you have in there. And I'm not going to take any fuel. So the wet mass is also 4. So this will allow me to figure out what my net thrust is. My base thrust on the solar sail is 0. I'm starting on Earth, which means that it's plus 0. It says it right there, plus 0. But since I'm a probe, it's plus 1 net thrust, so I'm at 1. So I'm able to do 1 burn per turn right now. All right. The question is can I get to Mars with only 1 burn per turn? Good question, right? Because as soon as I get into the Mars zone, it's a -1, and so my net thrust will be 0. So I'll only be able to coast, and I won't be able to do any burns. I got to go through the flyby. Yes, I can, because there is a flyby over there, and in the blue with the blue line, and there's 1 burn that's in the Earth zone, and then I can get a bonus burn for the flyby. So yes, I can go there. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. My net thrust is 1. My mass is 4. I have 1 burn that I can do. So I'm going to go up 1 burn, and I'm not going to go into the radiation spot over here just yet because I want to change my thruster and do that next turn. All right, that was my movement. Now I have an operation, and I think I'm going to go ahead and see. I really need a refinery. I really need a refinery. I have 3 aqua. You know, this radiator here has 1 therm of cooling, and this reactor needs 1 therm of cooling. This one gives +4 to thrust if it's part of the supply chain. Unfortunately, this thruster does not need that. So this crew also doesn't need any support, and of course that solar sail doesn't need any support either. This one's a 1 mass with a 5 rad hard C Pac-Man. That's pretty good, and this will come with a reactor, and the reactor actually and I can get the radiator as well, so I could take all 3 of those cards for 3 aqua. And this is a 6 red hard 2. I think it's a good way to go. So I'm going to go ahead and take all 3 of these cards. Just card hungry, I guess. Pay the 3 aqua, so I'm out of aqua. And that'll be the end of that turn. And I think that's going to be the end of this video as well. I went over a little time, but we're going to be going into what? Our 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th year. So we went through years 1 through 8 of 48. So we're 1/6 of the way completed with this game. And so far, I've got a rocket on the move to Mars, and I have a whole bunch of patents that I can make other things with. So yeah, very interesting. And I hope you're enjoying this, and we'll see you next video for part 2.